Hey, welcome back to Grit Gym. Just trying to reconnect there. It is Monday, April 9th. Monday, April 9th, we have the nutrition group coming out here tomorrow night. This is a free event. It's going to be a really good time. We'll have some food up here on the counter, and then we'll have about 40 people behind me, and then I'll be doing a 35-minute presentation. And really, like, people pay me a decent amount of money to be able to teach them stuff, and this is a free event. We're giving it all away for free, and we just want people to come out here and get to know us, to be a more part of the community, and also you also get the chance to sign up for our nutrition course if you decide to do so. But anyway, definitely be out here 7 o'clock tomorrow night for that. We're going to get into the presentation here in a second. It's kind of all over the place. I have to admit, like, even for me, it's kind of all over the place, but it's going to go a little bit mindset around nutrition and exercise, and a little bit mindset around just like our relationships and how we relate to each other from an empowering standpoint. But it's going to be one of those, it's going to be tough to wrap. I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around the idea that I'm going to go into later. But definitely be out here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. We're going to spend probably about 5 to 15 minutes just allowing people to show up so that we don't have that last minute person that shows up 12 minutes late and interrupts everything, and it's awkward. So we'll just get to know each other a little bit, and then we'll go into the presentation. And if you know that you're coming out here, can you do me a favor and please go on to the event and share the event on your page? Even better, invite some of your friends along with you. There's a free event, and we're going over the 3 top secrets to fat loss that we use with all of our clients out here to help them get to where they want to go in the plan. Remember that a coach is a coach. Back in the day, the origination of the word coach comes from a stagecoach, and a coach still does that same thing. It still gets you from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible, and that's our job. So our job is to get you from point A to point B, to get to the goal without getting injured, and in the most efficient way possible with the best experience. So, but what are we talking about today? Well, this interesting thing happened. This happened a while ago. This happened about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it's a really interesting thing. It really sat me back and made me have to analyze some stuff and how I think of things and around. Not necessarily from an entrepreneurial standpoint, not necessarily from like a business standpoint, or like maybe even, but just like how I relate to other people and where the responsibility all comes into play. Like, what is your bullshit nonsense and what is my bullshit nonsense? Where are they in? How do we make this very, very clear? And part of the reason I'm even thinking about this, because we just added we do personality tests on a regular basis out here at Grit Gym. We find a new one and we do it. We find a new one and we do it. We find a new one and we do it. And we really like digging into it and finding out little things about us and like what we think is real, what we think is accurate, what we think isn't accurate. Anyway, I went through one last night, and usually on the Myers-Briggs, I get an INFP. Well, the last 2 times that I've taken the test, I got INTP, which is the most logical version of the of all the personality types. In the Myers-Briggs, there's 16 different personality types, and I thought it was really very interesting reading through it, because really there's a lot that you can relate to, and I think some of these things have to be taken in context, because it's very easy it's almost like a horoscope, right? They just make it so vague that it's like, well, who couldn't relate to some of that stuff? So I think some of it's spot on, some of it's not, but one of the things it said was, a life unanalyzed is not worth living, basically. And I was like, yeah, like that is like to a T. I just don't understand not wanting, like, the desire to analyze things. I just find it insanely. I'm an insanely curious person, but I want to analyze everything. I think that's what got me into strength and conditioning, just in general, was that you can mold a body. Your body can adapt to these different stimuli that you give it, and then it can get faster, it can get stronger, it can get, it can do anything that you want it to do if you give it the right stimulus. So it's like, what is the right stimulus? And I think that was so, analyzing that process has just been such an obsession of mine for a long time. And really, someone asked me the other day how long I've been doing this, and I kind of had to stop and think, like, well, how long have I been doing this? It seems like I just started yesterday, but really I started getting paid to do this in 2007. So that means I've been going at this for 11 years, and we're almost we're like at the 7.5 year mark, so almost 8 years that Grit Gym has been open, which is pretty cool, and I've been able to do it my way, the way that I think it should be done, the way that science says it should be done. So logic and reason says it should be done to get people where they want to go, and it's worked out really well for us. We haven't ever done any marketing. This is like as marketing as it gets, really just giving away free stuff. I really like social media. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. I really like social media because it allows you to create a relationship with me before I'm allowed to create a relationship with you. It creates a safety for you to walk in here, and that's what I want. I want you to feel very, very safe to walk into Grit Gym for your first time, because if you don't feel that, you're never going to walk through the door. I'm never going to be able to serve you at the highest level. I'm never going to be able to have the impact on the world that I want to have, and I want to have this gigantic impact in the world in a very positive way. So I'm kind of spinning out of control on that tangent right now, but this was an interesting thing that happened to me. That didn't happen to me. It happened because of me. I was the catalyst for it all. But a family member wanted to work out at Grit Gym, so naturally it was like, well, here's the payment info. This person signed up, and we we got them on they were paying for the service, which is just how it goes, right? That's how the world works. Is like money's not an evil thing. Money, unless you apply the evil to the money. Like we do the money, like that's up to us what we do with our money. Like we can use our powers for good, or we can use our powers for evil. And I personally think that money can be used for both. And I think that if you're coming into Grit Gym and you're putting your dollars on the table, that makes you take action. That makes you put your energy, like you're going to show up because you put money on the table. If you don't put money on the table, you're not going to show up. You're not going to put in the effort. You're not going to do what's necessary to make the changes in your life happen the way that you want them to happen. So like money is a great thing. Like believe me, the money is much more for the people that sign up out here than it is for the, like obviously I have to get paid, the employees out here have to get paid, we have to keep the lights on, all that kind of stuff to make everything go round. But at the same time, it is much more for the person that is making the payment than us. And if it was worth 10 times the amount of money that we were asking, then I wouldn't be able to do it. And really, I think it's probably more like 200, but 200 times what we're asking for it. So anyway, family member signs up, charge them, and this is just the wildest thing to me. A few months later, the other side of the spouse showed up, and they were really, really mad at me. So this is a family member of mine, really, really mad at me. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand the scenario here. And they were pissed because of that I actually went through and had them pay money to be here, which I think sounds just incredibly ridiculous. But to them, like that was just an insane notion that a family member would ever pay for a service. And to me, it's like, you should be the absolute first person in line to pay. You should be the first person to want to pay full price. You should never ask for a deal. I guarantee you that Rachel or my little sister or like any of my siblings, my mom, if I have kids someday and they start a business, I guarantee you, I will be the first person in line to pay full price for their product or their service or whatever it is. I guarantee you, even if I don't need it, because I want them to be successful, I want them, it's mind blowing to me. Anyway, this family member, like I'm sitting there talking to them and they're like trying to get me to refund everything. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. This is how it works. This is a business. And I was kind of at a loss, and it ended up getting to the point where this person basically, like, to make a long story short, said, "I'll never forgive you," and that was kind of like the thing that stuck with me. Not because I felt guilty; I didn't feel guilty at all because I didn't do anything wrong. Like it's the right thing for them to pay. It's the right thing for me to get paid. It's the right thing for there to be a transaction, right? So I didn't do anything wrong. So I didn't really feel like I cared if they forgave me or not because it wasn't on me. And this is where like the questioning started. This is where the analyzing started. So like for you, like ask yourself, like, did I do anything wrong? Because I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't know if this person did anything wrong either, except for the error that they made in getting angry and for the misunderstanding that they seem to have around what money represents and what transactions represent and that kind of stuff. So anyway, the question is like, what's there to be forgiven? So in this situation, I'll never forgive you. Okay, well, what is there to be forgiven? No one did anything wrong. So if there's nothing to be forgiven, then why would it matter to the person being told that. Like, why would forgiveness matter? And what I really want to get into here is like the question of, should you forgive people, or should you just never give them the power of that? When people say sorry to me, I don't always say this, but a lot of times I will, I'm going to hop off of here. I'll say, don't give me that power. I don't want it. Like when people say like sorry, or they ask for forgiveness, I'm like, oh, I don't want the power to forgive you. You didn't do anything wrong, and even if you did, I don't want that power. Don't put that on me. That's in your mind. That's a you thing. It's not on me. So the notes that I have, I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, there's what's there to be forgiven, and then if it is that you did something wrong, then this is not on me. This is a you thing. If you have, like, if this person is mad at me and they'll never forgive me, that's on them, not on me. So where's the clarity between where's my bullshit nonsense and what's their bullshit nonsense? Well, I'm sitting here being like, I'm not going to give my power away to this person and beg for their forgiveness. I didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong here. So I don't know what you want me to do with that. And so and even if I did do something wrong, well, why would I give my power away to be forgiven? Why would I ask for forgiveness? It should just be given. Like, to me, I usually score in the personality test. This is part of the reason this came up. But in the personality test, when it comes to like forgiveness and forgetting and the difference between those, I usually score fairly low on the forgiving category. And I think that's just because I don't look at it like, I don't think forgiveness is a thing. I'm never going to forget. I'm never going to forget. Like, it's there. I remember it, but I don't have like ill will towards that thing. It just is there. It's not like I had to forgive or not forgive. It's not like a power that I wanted that I want to give away. It's somebody else being mad at you is a journey for them, not for you. That's really what I'm coming around to. I don't know if forgiveness is a real thing. I don't know if it's necessary. And another thing that came up was like this new thing with and the social media thing plays into this too. Facebook, I made this statement to a friend of mine the other day, or not to a friend, an acquaintance. But they were complaining that Facebook is now doing this. It's funny that they think this hasn't been going on the entire time, but Facebook. They've been outed as people have figured out that Facebook basically decides what can be put on Facebook and what can't be put on. So you put a post up that Facebook doesn't like, and Facebook is going to just basically brush it underneath mountains of data, and it's never going to get exposed to anybody. Whereas you put up a post that they do like, and they're going to push it out to a lot more people. The funny thing is that people don't think that this has been happening since the beginning of Facebook. But if you think about it, Facebook wants a platform where that the most people like. So if you put something up that the majority of people aren't going to like, they're going to drown it. And if you put something up that they do like, then they're gonna push it out to more people. Anyway, so. Mark Zuckerberg's taking all this heat, and what I said was, well, it's his house, he can do what he wants with it, and that apparently brought up some other stuff. They were like, that's bullshit. That's not. Well, it's a private business. He can do what he wants with it. It's not like a public entity like the University of Iowa or the government or anything else. It's a private business. He can do what he wants. And then that brought up the Christian bakers from a while back when the bakers that they bake cakes. And there was a homosexual couple that came in that wanted the same-sex cake, or a same-gender cake, and they denied them. And I also think that that's a little, like, totally silly, but at the same time, they sued for emotional distress is what it was. And I was just like, you couldn't have gone to a different baker? I think that would have probably been fine without the suing. I think emotional distress is just one of those crazy things that we're using today. It's just like, oh, I'm offended. Oh, I'm experiencing emotional distress. It's kind of like, it's like grow up. And I'm sure that those Christian bakers, I think it's silly that they didn't just make the cake, but at the same time, I think it's a little silly that the government can step in and actually make you bake a cake that you don't want to bake. But I'm sure that they had emotional distress. If that's the case, if they had emotional distress over someone telling them that they weren't willing to take their money and bake them a cake, then the bakers probably had emotional distress in being sued. But I see this in nutrition and exercise a lot, where like we'll ask people, where people will tell us things that are just so soft, and it's just so, like, I don't want to use the word pathetic, but on some level it's just kind of like, Can this be real life? Is this a real thing? Is this something that like an adult is actually telling me? For instance, but I hate vegetables is a quote that I hear on, not all the time, but on a fairly regular basis. It's like, you are 45 years old. You're a grown adult, and you're telling me that you don't want to eat vegetables because you hate vegetables. It's just like mind blown. Get over it. Another one that I hear is my kids won't eat that. It's like, why is it an option to your kid to eat or not eat that? It's like, you are the parent. You be the parent. And I realize I do not have kids, and I get that all the time. I get like messages from people that are like, well, you don't have kids, so you don't know what you're talking about. Well, according to that concept, if that were the case, then a chemotherapy doctor would have to get cancer in order to treat any of his patients and have to go through chemo, and he might have some more like sympathy and compassion for what they're going through because he has a better understanding, but at the same time he can treat the chemo without getting cancer. So I can say that I think a parent is ridiculous for saying that my kids would never eat that. It's not an option. It was never an option when I was growing up. Watch the video with Janet. Scroll through some of these videos. Watch the video with Janet. She had rules. If you said yuck, you made the next meal. If you didn't try 3 bites of everything on the plate or everything on the table, there was going to be a problem. If you didn't try something 3 times, like there's a tomato. I remember I didn't like tomatoes very much when I was growing up. I had to try a tomato the first time she put it out. Like at some point I had to try a tomato, and then another time I had to try a tomato, and then another time I had to try a tomato, and if I still didn't like it after the 3rd time, it wasn't that big of a deal. But these were like sort of compromises. 3 bites is not that big of a deal. Grow up. I can't. Oh, one of the most recent ones that I heard that I almost died laughing. I gave someone a meal, and they said, that meal's got to take at least 10 minutes to make. I can't do that. And I was just like, how long do you think a meal is supposed to be? Cooking for yourself is one of those things that just grow up. You're just going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to eat the vegetables. You're going to have to cook for yourself. You're going to have meals that take you longer than 10 minutes to cook. You're going to have to do these things when you're tired, when you're cranky, when you're not wanting to. You have to do it. Like I would imagine that when you have a kid, there's an extreme amount of exhaustion. Are you going to be a worse parent? Are you going to allow yourself to be a worse parent and not teach them really good habits and really good manners and these really good things just because you're tired? No, you want to make sure that they're the absolute best person that they can be in their life, or otherwise you did them a disservice. And I hear this with exercise too, in the form of, but I don't want to. I hate exercise. It's like, well, yeah, me too. I don't really like this stuff back there. I don't actually enjoy going and working out. It's uncomfortable. I don't really like it. It burns and it stings and it's not very fun. And I'm not saying it's painful, but it's just not very fun. But what do you got to do? You got to do it. You got to do it anyway. Well, that's written right on my shirt, isn't it? And the other one I hear often is, I'm not motivated. Well, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter if you're motivated or not motivated. Motivation should be the least of your concerns. Motivation does not matter. Motivation is fleeting. I'm not saying motivation might not be a thing. I don't personally think it is. I think it's just bogus to sit there and try to be like, well, I'm not motivated. Well, like that's just bullshit that you're cooping up so that to stop you from actually doing the thing, to give yourself an excuse. I don't care if you're motivated or not. You got to do it anyway. You just got to make yourself do it. And make yourself do it is not about just working your ass off. It's about working smart. It's about doing the thing that's uncomfortable doing, that you're uncomfortable to do. There's 2 ends of the spectrum usually that a lot of people sit on. They either sit on the really, I don't want to do it, I'm not motivated, I can't make myself do it, and then the other side is like, I'm going to go hard, I'm going to lift as much as I can every single time. So on these people, you got to kind of rein them back in, and on these people, you kind of got to kick them in the butt. Not literally, but anyway. So for this group over here, the person that you got to rein back because they're so go, willing to work hard, now that's fantastic and all. But the do it anyway is probably like, hey, we got to only work up to 80% of our 1 rep max today for your sets. Otherwise, we're going to end up getting injured, and we're not going to progress as fast. Or we're just not going to progress as fast because you're just doing too high of a load and your body can't recover. This group over here is just got to get up and get moving and get going. And we can meet you a little bit halfway. But emotional distress and being offended and the victim mindset. I'm just mind blown around how far this really reaches, and it's just like, I don't even know what to think about it at this point. But that you can actually go to legality and legislation about emotional distress is not too far of a cry from being offended. Like being offended is almost like a way to win an argument at this point. It's like, well, that's offensive, so I won. Like, no, it just is. I think if people looked at things a little bit more logically and started to analyze them and say, is this a viable stance? Is there something to learn here? How can I understand? Because I don't think you really get to disagree until you fully understand what the other person is trying to communicate. If you do understand, you have asked questions, you have clarified, then you can sit back and be like, I don't know if it would work like that. But until you get to that point, you can't disagree because you don't even know what the other person was trying to intend to say, which I think happens on this show a lot because I'm kind of all over the place and I have a very, very busy mind. But I try to stay away from political stuff here a little bit, but I kind of got into it a little, didn't I? I just think it's an insanity to think that people should not be held accountable for, or maybe not that they should be held accountable, but that that we can actually consider people are so powerless and so pathetic that they are not responsible for their own thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors. That is just not the case. People can be very powerful if they are taught to be, if they can garner up the responsibility to actually use that power. And I think that on some level, to wrap this all into the end here, the forgiveness thing. I don't know. I don't, for instance, you're not going to hear me say the word sorry very often. If I do, it's just because I want it out of the conversation or I just wanted a quick out, but I never mean it. I never mean it. I'm not asking anybody for their forgiveness, and I don't expect anybody to ask for mine. You were forgiven. Most of the time when people say sorry to me, they didn't even do anything wrong. This drives my nephew's mom nuts that I do this. But when one of them does something that they probably shouldn't do, like hit their brother or throw. One time Noah and I sat there and we talked about why not to throw rocks at cars for like 45 minutes with a 3-year-old, which was, he might have been 4 at the time, but it was just an insane conversation. He was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, dude, I don't care if you're sorry. What did you learn? What did you learn? So like for me, if I say sorry, what I'm going to do is in my head, I'm going, what did I learn? Because if I did make an error, I think that should be the first question. Did I make an error? Well, no. In this situation, I'll never forgive you for this because I used your I used your service. This one just blows my mind. I paid for your service, and then because you're family, that I shouldn't have to pay. Nuts. But anyway, I'll never forgive you for this. That's not on me. That's on you, or that's on this person. Where was I? I was somewhere decent before I pulled that off. But what did I learn? So that's did I make an error or not? Like if someone gets mad at you, did I make an error or not? If I made an error, then I need to own up to that error. I made an error. Okay. 2, you do whatever you do if you did make an error. If you didn't make an error, it's done. If you did not make an error, it's done. It's just like, well, I have nothing to feel guilty about. I have nothing to feel shame about. I have nothing to be forgiven. So it's done. If I did make an error, it's not, will you forgive me or feel guilty or feel shame? It's what can I learn? What can I learn? Because the guilt and the shame and the forgiveness, those don't do anything to help you learn. Those don't do anything to correct it. Those don't do anything to progress or make anything better. They're just bullshit you're making up to feel guilty, to be asking for forgiveness, and to feel shame, which are just all based on that fear of not being enough. So one, did I make an error? Okay, well, let's say I did make an error. And then I'm going to go, what can I learn from this? And I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can about that thing, and then I'm going to move on so that I don't feel that guilt, that anger, and that shame. Or any of the guilt, the anger, the shame, I don't have to ask for forgiveness. But But anyway, that's my little deal on forgiveness. I just don't think it's a real thing. I think it's something that we make up because we're in a guilt-driven society that is taught to feel guilty because that's the status quo. If you don't feel guilty, somehow you're a pathological asshole. And it's like, no, I just don't feel guilty because I didn't do anything wrong. Like, why would I feel like I'm not good enough in this scenario just because you don't? Like, that has nothing to do with me. I'm not like it's not that I have no feelings. It's that I'm just looking at it logically. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. So I didn't make an error. So that's on you, that's on me. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, I don't really know where I'm going to end up with this, but anyway, thanks for being here, guys. There's like 6 of you here this entire time, which is pretty cool. That's one of our highest shows yet, but if you guys can please do me a favor, go into the nutrition event, share it out to everybody. I think we have a few spots left. I really thought that we'd be way past this, but this is a free event, and it's going to be a really good time. Last time it was a really good turnout. We had about 35 people here, and we figured out that very quickly that we needed to cap it. But it'll be a free event. We'll shut off the lights. We'll do have a projector screen up on the wall. I'll get up and I'll do I'm going to try to keep it under 35 minutes. So I'm going to say 30 to 35 minute presentation, and it'll hopefully be like some like kind of mind bendy shifts around nutrition, and hopefully some other I'll show you when you get there. But definitely, please go in, do me a favor, go in and share it out. It's a free event. Anybody can show up, and I think it'll be really good for almost anybody. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll be on with Rachel tomorrow, and I don't know what we're talking about yet. So if you guys have an idea, you should tell her. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.